Welcome to the Kaur Show. This is episode 36. Thank you all for joining us today on the show. As always, we really appreciate your time in this space. I'm Ranjit Kaur from the UK, and here with me is my co-host, Gorinda Kaur from Melbourne. She is here somewhere. Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh.
Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. How are you, Benji?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Great. So tomorrow is a really big day here. It's the International Women's Day, the 8th of March in the UK. I think it may be
I
everywhere it's
think it
the
is. It is
same
actually globally. So
globally.
unlike Mother's Day and Father's Day, which falls on different dates in different parts of the world, International Women's Day falls on every 8th of March since it started on in 1911. Yes, just tomorrow is a big day for the women of the globe.
The globe, yeah. So
Yes.
apparently the day is about highlighting social and cultural and maybe even political achievements for women, while
Yes.
calling for gender equality around the world. I think that International Women's Day is every single day. But
Yes.
so yeah, simple ways to mark the day. Apparently, if you wear something purple, the color of International Women's Day, I was thinking I don't have anything purple, but that's the color to wear maybe. And how are you celebrating in Melbourne?
Well, that's very right. I believe I don't even have any purple, something in purple. So I'm struggling. So tomorrow, Penji, we're actually doing a big celebration of Women's Day. We're actually physically meeting since the COVID restrictions have gone down. So the theme of International Women's Day this particular year is choose to challenge. And we know with COVID-19, especially women, they have faced so many challenges, especially with the leadership opportunities and even a lot of stuff that has been going, as you mentioned, political, economical, in every phase of life. So I think it's a time now to lead that conversation, to talk about what are the challenges and hear some inspirational stories where we can inspire others and talk through those challenges. We're looking for a big day tomorrow. It's becoming like a wedding ceremony. So many preparations, hot topics, gifts, goodies, some
It's
fun
because
music
you're
as well.
it's
Yes,
because you're meeting after such a long time with everybody.
I know.
So it's going to
And
be
we're getting
hard,
such
but
a
it's going
big
to be great.
response. That's right.
Yeah, no,
Yes.
that's
Yeah.
really good. Maybe you can wear the purple turban.
I do have, but I need something matching to wear something with purple. But let's
Yeah,
see. I
yeah, it's a
still have to
start.
decide. I know. With COVID, I packed everything, all the suits and now I'm struggling to find where is what.
It's been a year.
but
That's why it's been
hopefully
so long.
but hopefully tomorrow in the pictures you will find what I was wearing, which
Yes,
I
I
don't know
will.
even yet.
That's fine. So on today's show, we will be joined by Mandeep Kaur Moore from the UK. Our topic is International Women's Day, Feeling the Power. And so Mandeep will share how she challenged divorce mentally and now chooses to share her power and strength to inspire others to discover theirs. So this will be interesting to talk about because mentally we don't really talk about how we feel after such a tragic or something that goes wrong. So let's welcome our guest to the show and ask her more. Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh.
Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh, Benjis. Thank you for having me.
No, thank you. How are you this morning?
Really good, really good. Thank you.
We're really happy that you've joined us today and to share your story. So thank you so much. And yeah, if you can tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, so the audience can know who you are, that'd be great. Thank you.
So by profession, I'm a solicitor and I have an events company. So we do events, event planning and production from like 15 people up to 25,000 people. So it started off as a passion and a weekend thing. But now obviously we are doing kind of like large events in like public spaces. And so that's kind of like my profession side in terms of like organizations and things I'm involved in. Quite a few. I was one of the co-founders and helped set up Khalsa Fostering, and I also I'm the president of the Sikh Games in the UK, and also we're working on setting up an international Sikh Games at the moment. So we're talking to quite a few other countries for that, and we also I am an advisor, a cultural advisor to the Greater London Authority, which is the Mayor of London's office. And I'm trying to think what else. And oh yes, Professional Women of Faith. So that is an organisation that we set up to really bring professional women that are in the kind of faith arena to talk about some of the challenges that we may face in some environments, but also to empower one another. So like within the Sikh community, if there's something that we're doing and we feel like it's really been, enlightening for us, or we feel like it's really benefited us, we'll like try and share that with other professional women from other faith groups to try and encourage them to do the same. And to really, it's really something to empower and to uplift. So yeah.
Amazing. You're wearing so many hats. I can't believe so much. How do you manage to do that?
It's all on a spreadsheet, a very colorful spreadsheet. Actually, before
Yes.
now, I just, you know what, it's just, I use a lot of kind of different mindsets and kind of working methods to make sure that I am spending enough time on my daily job, which is of course working as a lawyer. So I do civil litigation and employment litigation. But then I think with the event stuff, it kind of counteracts the stress because it's quite fun, and like, you know, being part of events and planning events and being part of people's special days. So that kind of counteracts that. But then I think when it comes to like the seva element, I feel like there's always a personal responsibility, even from a very young age. Even when I was at university, I was always part of like St. John's Ambulance. I used to always know that 10% of my time, even though I didn't have the financial resources at the time, were always going to go to charity. And that was kind of like instilled at a very, very early age. So even then I was doing that. So I've always felt that responsibility to make sure that if we've got these skills and we've got an idea to offer, we should not just kind of wait or complain that other people aren't doing it. We have to actually take it upon ourselves. Like almost like I consider it like a hukum, that it's come in front of me for a reason, that I have to go and like help set something up or set it up myself or do something with the information and issues that come before me.
That's really awesome. So definitely, I think when you're doing so many things and you're managing so much stuff outside your work and, you know, in your professional life and personal life and for seva purposes as well, I'm sure you need to feel the power inside. So how do you feel that power inside you?
To be honest, I feel like it's just, I think, knowing that there's a responsibility and knowing that we have a skill set and appreciating it. And it all comes down to like, I always take it down to hukam, you know, like Maharaj gives you these opportunities, even when it's like seva, it's an opportunity. You don't consider it like a task. It's an opportunity to make a difference. So why wouldn't you make a difference? And it's really nice, I think. And then that's where the kind of the lawyer side comes in. You're like always a problem solver. You always see things like, you know, for example, like Khalsa fostering, we realized that a lot of Sikh children are actually going into care. I was actually like on a train journey coming back from St. Paul's Cathedral at an event when I spoke to Navleen Benji, and she was the first person that kind of flagged it to me, and I was like, you know, we've got to do something, kind of, you know, like. And then we just straight away, you know, I just messaged, rounded up a couple of people that I know on a WhatsApp group, and I was just like, you know, we need to sit down and we need to talk about it. Literally within 2 days, we set up a meeting and we got the ball rolling. You know, so I think it's almost not focusing on yourself as much. It's kind of focusing on the issue that is at hand and having this kind of like problem solving mentality that you've got to just solve these issues and you've got to just work towards them, rather than exhausting my energy thinking or stressing about how this is going to impact you know, my routine, or how this is going to why other people have not done it. It's like, just put your resources towards doing something good and just making a positive change and start chipping away at the problem, rather than analyzing it and you know, scrutinizing why it can't be you that solves it and it's someone else.
I remember when I recently spoke to you, and it was regarding divorce. and your
Yeah.
situation, because we spoke quite about it. And so could you tell us a little bit about how you felt either during the divorce or after, like mentally, how you felt? Because I think a lot of people, when they talk about their situation, it's always, I'm divorced, and then that's it. And then they don't really talk or delve into how they actually felt or whether they had a support system or anything like that. So I think it's really important to talk about when you're going through a situation, any type of situation, whether it be this or, you know, someone died, how is it that you are feeling and how is it that you deal with it? Because everybody deals with it differently. So maybe your experience could inspire somebody else.
Yes, thank you, Benji. I hope it inspires people. I think just kind of, I always say the word, I'm happily divorced. So I never say I'm just divorced or, you know, put a face down at it, because it's still like an experience that you go through. It's still like part of your journey. So I think I'll start with, how did I feel during it? I think after it, if you kind of consciously make a decision to have a divorce, you almost, you know what's taken you there and why you've come to that decision. So it's like you've got to just live with your decision, that's the decision that you've made. But in terms of like during it, I think I was genuinely really, really confused, because I always felt like, so my situation was quite like different. I didn't know anybody that had actually been through a situation that was kind of like mine. I felt it was quite unique. So I was kind of like in my 20s. My ex-husband, he was in his 20s as well. But he had 4 older sisters who were literally kind of my mum's age bracket. So they were kind of in their late 40s, early 50s. And my in-laws, they were both in their 70s. And it was quite like, it was definitely like a culture shock. It was definitely very much like, you know, although I was very much used to like spending time with my grandparents, I think it was also like a really different family. It was very much like one thing, one rule for us and another rule for you. And it was like, you know, when it would be my birthday, they would not invite my parents, but his sisters would be invited. When it was my wedding lordy, they did not want to invite my parents. Like, it was almost like there was always these situations where they were trying to take me away from anybody else around the world. So it was almost like, just listen to us, just do what we say, nobody else matters, kind of thing. Whereas actually for their own daughters, it was a completely different situation. So for their own daughters, they had 4 daughters, and the kind of years they were married, like my Thayaji's daughters also got married in those kind of years as well. So all 4 sisters, none of them lived with their in-laws. All 4 sisters came to their parents' house 3 times a week, a little bit too much, you know. And it was like, well, why is there one rule here and another rule there? Like, surely it would make sense. I've just like newly got married, that you want to try and get me to settle in, so you're going to be like flexible, that, you know, I don't have kids or anything like that, you know, so you'd be open to the fact that I'll go there and come. But yeah, it wasn't like that. But I think my parents were quite supportive, because every time I kind of went to my parents and kind of went back home to their home, I felt like there was always kind of like fights, and there's always these kind of situations. So I kind of explained to my mum, I said, Mum, like, you know, when I'm not here, I feel like my mother-in-law is using that opportunity to really turn my ex-husband against me. Like, you know, like, I just feel like it's probably best that I try and stay here a little bit more and not to come to you guys as much. And my mum was like, look, you know, like, it doesn't matter where you are, we just need you to be happy. So if it means that you can't come here, that's absolutely fine. You've got to focus on your own home, and you've got to focus on yourself to make sure it's okay for you. But there's one thing I didn't know about, which I found out after actually I came back, that of the week of my wedding, when my parents, so they have like grocery stores, they've been having grocery stores for about since 1989. They've had grocery stores, so they're very well known in the local community. And the week of my wedding, someone actually came back and said to my parents, my dad in particular, 2 people, they basically said, you've made a really big mistake getting your daughter married into the family that you have. And one person even said to my dad, he took him to the back, and he literally referred to a bin, and he said, you should have chucked her in there. She would have been better there than where you've put her. And I think for my parents, they were like genuinely quite concerned throughout the whole duration that I was actually there as well, but they didn't tell me. So I was like, why didn't you tell me? And my dad was like, well, if there's one person that can manage it, and if there's one person that can turn things around, I had every faith that it was you. So it's safe to say that I kind of, as much as difficult as they made it, I still had my head screwed on. I still, kept on, doing my part every day, and I kept on trying to connect. I kept on like talking to my friends and things like that. I didn't at first, but eventually when I did, I felt like I was kind of still finding a way to release those emotions and trying to get it out of my kind of system. Then it was kind of like, it's very difficult to kind of go into like the tricky kind of bits of like what exactly happened, but just like some examples of their kind of behavior was, like my mother-in-law, her plotting stuff on the steps, like card envelopes, for example, because they had like 20 odd first, like family members, right? You've got 4 daughters, all these grandchildren over, and it's always someone's birthday. And so the card wrapper sleeves, she would plot them on the steps once my husband had left to go to work. And like I literally like fell down their stairs twice because of it. And she would do like silly stuff, like where she would open the like fridge, take out like Johnny from Gulab Jamun, and she literally spilt it on the floor and was standing on the side to watch me come in, like as in she watched me come down the stairs knowing I was going to go in the kitchen. Like those are the kind of things they did. And it was really bizarre. Like I'd never ever in my whole life had ever come across anyone that would have wanted to do that. I almost, and when I say confusing, this is why I say confusing, because I'm like, surely if you've got someone's child like in your house, they're calling you mum, they're like making things for you, they're like, I used to like do like cute little things, like sew her like cute like aprons and like make her dishes and like do like fun stuff to try and like do everything to try and please her. But she was always just literally out to kind of like get me and try and trap me out, and so it was really difficult in that I could not understand why a mother would want to break their own child's heart just to get to their wife. Like it was like the whole concept never made any sense to me. So it's like, surely in you going to your son and constantly trying to turn him against me, you're also hurting him. But why would any mother want to do that to their child? Why would any mother want to like hinder their relationship? Because surely it's going to hurt him as well, right? He's just got married to someone. You would want to do everything, like now, especially now, given how many divorces and stuff happen, like, like to keep them together. So I used to say, like, Mom, I just don't understand. And I used to talk to my mum a lot about it. It actually sadly led to a lot of like her health conditions whilst I was there. Like it really impacted her health massively. But of course, like, I didn't realize this because I was kind of so like stuck in my own kind of problems. And obviously I wasn't able to come and go as much. So I couldn't physically see that she was actually suffering as well because of it. But the one thing she said to me, and I kept very firm in that, she always said to me, I said, oh, Mum, they said this to me, like, I really wanted to respond with this. And, she used to always just say one thing, and she like literally that sentence, you repeated it over and over again. Dusre de avgun deke apne gun nahi gavane. Just because of someone else's shortcomings, don't forget your own upbringing, because we've raised you to speak with love. We've taught you to not respond like just at their level, because she said, what's the whole point of us like bringing you up this way if you're just gonna, in click of a finger, you're just gonna start speaking like them. So I think that made me still feel good that I wasn't being disrespectful. I always said sat sri akal to them, always asked them if they were okay, but I did try and avoid them as much as possible, because as a human it's like it's really difficult like to just kind of be there smiling and stuff all the time. So the smile dropped. The smile went. But I did still like refer to them as Mummy and Daddy. I still, asked them if they're okay. Still carried on. Still had my day in the week where I did their ironing. Still had my days in the week where I did all their washing up and like cooking in the evenings. In fact, carrying on all those tasks was easy because I was just doing everything to try and avoid, But I think mentally it really kind of did impact me to a point where when I left, a lot of my cousins, like even my younger cousin brothers and things like that, like my mamaji sons, they were like, what, 13, 14 at the time. And they were like, Benji, like they used to try and like almost like counsel me. Like it was really difficult, right? Because I was there like when they were born with my cousins and stuff. And we were always really close, like my puas and my taiji, my mamaji, everyone used to come and go a lot. So we had a really open home. This is why I never saw any issues with his sisters coming so many times a week, because I was like, we've always had this kind of like open home policy where someone's always coming and going. There's always Ronak, you know, and but I think it was when one of my cousin brothers asked me, he pulled me to his side and he said, Benji, are you okay? Because like something isn't right. And I was just like, it's like literally like even the kids are noticing now. But I think after I made the decision, it was quite different. I think at that point, it made it easier. One thing that made it really easy was the fact that every single person I spoke to, you know, like from my family, to a point where his family members even reached out to say, you did the right thing, because you were never gonna, like, you know, people referring to them like some terms that they used for their, like for his 4 sisters and stuff like that, you know, to say you did well to come out of there. They would have never let you live in there. You know, it would have ended quite badly. So I think just from that, and I had the support system, and you know, it was good.
So Mandeep, yep. So you mentioned a very powerful statement. कि किसे दे औगुन देख के अपना गुण नहीं गवाना. And Gurbani says the same thing as well. At the same time, it's really a shame, you know, in a world where a woman should empower other, and we are talking about women empowerment. That's a hot topic throughout the world. And we see that one woman is actually, you know, she's the one who is putting stones in on the way of, you know, other women. So
Yeah.
this is really a very pushback, like, you know, where she should be strengthening, empowering, and be friendly. That's where the house is, you know. We see so many families are getting broken just because of the in-laws, and especially the mother-in-law or the daughter-in-law. It's vice versa as well.
Yeah.
And as we mentioned before, this year's theme, we are talking about Choose to Challenge, and which talks about, you know, cutting off the bias and the inequality in the society. And we are still seeing that inequality, that equity is not there within the family. Why do you think she was doing all this? Were you able to find out?
So I found out a lot of stuff afterwards. But it was actually after I got married. So it was all like, for her, I think it was all about control. So it was quite sad actually, because even his dad, like his family, there was no one from the dad's side of the family at our wedding. They kind of said to us before, they, you know, like, you know how, because I plan weddings, I plan events. So I said to his sisters, you know, I was like, Benji, can you send me like the milni list beforehand? And because obviously, like, you know, when the milni happens at the wedding, when both sides meet each other, it's difficult to think like who to put there and who not to put there. Like in the like quick decision, what I didn't want, you know, my parents to do is have like the wrong person going up and not giving the due respect to someone that they should have, or, you know, where you've got like a couple of mummy from different families, like you have the oldest one from each one. Like I would have helped my parents make that decision, because I'm an only daughter. My brother, he's older than me, but it's safe to say he wouldn't ever get involved in any of those things, right? So I basically said to his sister, like literally but like a month or something before, you know, to let me know, you know, who's actually going to be doing the milnis. So we would tell our family members, like, or get them ready accordingly. And she just wasn't getting back to me. And then like on the Manya day, I remember I messaged her and she gave me a list, and it had lots of like Tanya in there, Pua in there, and all of these people. So, you know, we had like all of our family there, right? Like we had like, even from Australia, we had like 60 people or something there. And of course we've got our whole extended family here, you know, we speak to like everyone from my mum's side, my dad's side, my mum's village, my dad's village. It's like everyone kind of thing, you know, is there. So it was really odd, because actually his Masiya went and did the milni for the Masiya, and then they also went and did the milniya for the Chachiya and the Tanya. So my parents are like, what is going on? And after I get married, I realized that actually they haven't spoken to them for about 20, 25 years. They not only have not spoken to them, they weren't even invited to the wedding. You know, it was a case of they wanted to get, you know, their like manotta, their suit or whatever, you know, like it was so like it was, or they wanted us to perceive them in this light whereby they are like very nice, very friendly people, but actually they weren't. And then obviously afterwards we found out a lot about what happened with their families, and it was very, very apparent what kind of people they were. You know, like his mum would say to me, oh, there's this, you know, there's these couple of houses and their children, they always swear at me through the window. And I was like, but why would they do that? And then, you know, it was like, it just didn't make sense. But they had a very bad reputation in the area as well, in terms of with business owners. You know, they would always do like kind of like silly things. But again, the same thing with their family. It was very much about the mum and her having only her family and her control there. And with her daughters even, I found the same thing. So like it was the kind of, when it was her grandchildren's birthdays, she would basically, like one of the sisters, a really weird situation. The Daddi and Dada live like about 15 minutes away from where they're celebrating. They've got an only son as well. But they're celebrating their grandson's birthday, and it's only the mum side of the family. So it's only like kind of like my in-laws that are there, and all four or my sister-in-laws are there, but no one from the Dadki are there. So it's like, even when it comes to the sisters, they're doing as much as they can. They're trying to alienate their in-laws as well.
You mentioned earlier about released emotions. And so when you had all these emotions that were going on at the time when you were there, or even when you left, did you reach out to anyone for help or to talk to them? Or, you know, some people go to the Gurdwara because they've got Sangat there and they know that they can tell them anything and it wouldn't go anywhere. Is there anywhere that you went to reach out for help, like even professionally, or was it just family?
To be honest, it was just family. But if I'm like even more honest, it was really difficult because nobody in my family had seen a situation like this. You know, like literally nobody had gone through anything like this. You know, when my mum never went through it, my masiya never went through it. You know, like my buas never went through it. Everyone pretty much had like a really good and happy life. My cousin sisters, you know, like my Taji's daughters, like I said, they're a lot older than us. You know, those are the ones that we look to. You know, even until today, they're really happy with their in-laws. You know, and we speak to like their in-laws, and they're like almost like friends with us. Like, you know, my cousin sister's mother-in-law, like she's like a really good friend of ours. Like she'll come to us. So it was really, really odd for me. I think like having this kind of situation. I remember actually going onto Google and typing in my situation every lunchtime. I would try and say, okay, how to deal with this issue, how to like come out of this issue positively, and how to like, not let it affect your own mental health, that, you know, someone else is doing this, and how to kind of basically do that. Sorry, I think my nephew's just woken up. I'm just going to have to give him 1 second, and then otherwise he's going to keep on coming to me.
So it's yeah, it'd be good to know, like, you know, where people, some people I know that they go to Sikhi to the max when they want to talk about their feelings, and they'll put a word in there, and then it'll come up with, you know, Tok and Bani, and that helps with emotions, because then it's like, oh, there's my answer. Because sometimes when we're looking for an answer, where do we go? We ask other people. And sometimes having that support from other people is really important. But I also think that when you go to Sikhi to the max, it does a lot of power. So that's something that randomly, that's what I teach the Sangat as well, that Sikhi to the max is amazing when you need some help and direction. Are you back now, Mandeep?
Yes, I'm
Oh,
back.
did you hear
I'm
what I
back.
said?
You know, I did. You know, he was just standing here. He's just woken up, and like he's just not going to go until I acknowledge that he's there. So that's his like daily routine, to talk to Pooji first. He will like come to my room normally to have a cuddle. So now he knows I'm not there. So he's just confused about what's going on. So yeah, I mean, in terms of like actually getting help, I think it was actually really, really difficult, because I feel like, you know, a lot of these things that have come out which afterwards, which have been amazing, like Seek Helpline and all these things, like it's phenomenal to see the amount of work that's happening. But it was genuinely really, really difficult, because you're almost you can't tell a lot of other people about it, because you still want people to respect your in-laws. You don't want to like go to people and just keep telling everyone and anyone, because at the end of the day, like they're still your family. because you don't think that you're going to leave, right? Like I always thought, like, when I was a trainee solicitor, I used to deal with like the occasional divorce here and there, and I used to think, man, people give up too soon. Like people don't put that effort in, or people don't, like, people gotta they've got to really give it more time. They've got to really try and settle in. But oh my god, did I try and settle in? Like literally, I did anything and everything possible, to try and settle in. Like every single week, the sisters, like on a Saturday, I would do like a whole feast for them, even though they came during the week and I was doing bits and bobs. But like sometimes I wasn't at home at the time when they came, but on a Saturday I would do like everything. The two sisters that were celiac, I would go and make them celiac like food, and like to a point where if I'm making something like gulab jamun or there's a celebration, I actually learn and had to do gluten-free ones, and I would make it for them. And one of the sisters actually turned around to me and said, I've not had them in like 40 years, and it was like I always wanted to do that. Like I was always very hospitable, like, because that's how we kind of been, that's kind of my family, right? That's our background, and like that's how everyone is. And like, one of the kids couldn't have tomatoes, one of the kids couldn't do one thing, and I really took it into my stride to try and do as much as possible and like help as much as possible, and not let them get me down. Because I think it is your light, that's what people want to dim, like with my own relatives, they would come and like praise me, and I'll be like, don't praise me, because this is going to go really downhill from me afterwards. You're going to leave through the door and my mother-in-law's going to pick up on something and she's going to make sure you never come back here, kind of thing. So like, please stop praising me, please stop. But it was a real struggle to understand. I think it was just not being able to understand their mentality, not understanding what their hidden agenda was out of all of this. But I think, afterwards, I think it was very different. Like no matter how much, like, of course, you've come to that decision that you're going to do this and you're going to come out of it. I tried to, say to them, like, look, and this will like explain to you what kind of like people they actually were, because I said to my ex-husband, I said, look, things aren't working out, like for me, this isn't normal. I personally feel like we're at this stage where both families now need to sit down. Like I'm not going to sit here and just take abuse from you guys, because you guys are like literally swearing at me all the time, and like things like, my mother-in-law saying to me, oh, don't go and wash your hair, come here, let me hit a dang in your head and give you some akal. And I'm like, but like you're just lost for words, because you've never come across a situation like that. And like almost like it's like the more educated you are, the more you're gonna take that instruction where your parent has said to you moreni bolna and all of this kind of stuff, and you're just going to go absolutely numb. And I just felt like, why can I not respond to any of the stuff that they're saying? Like it just, I didn't even know what to come back with, because it was so like unheard of. But something he said to me, I said to him, look, we need to bring our parents together. And if there's something I'm not understanding, if we can sit together, maybe my parents will make me understand, because I'm just not getting it. Maybe it's this whole like massive age gap. Although I was very confident I knew how to communicate, because I spent more time with my granddad than I did like with my own parents, kind of thing, like we'd grown up to like kind of spending that time together. And he said to me, he said, no, they're not allowed to come here and talk. You have to tell your dad to get one of his vans. And he swore, and he said, I'll put a tenner on his head for picking up your stuff.
When you look back now, do you ever think how you could have done things differently, or would have done things differently when you came out, just for mentally, for yourself, psychologically? Do you ever think that you wish, with the whole community thing, gal nahi karida hunda ja aapa gal nahi kariye, like, do you ever wish that you could have done it a different way?
To be honest, I did think about it, but I'm a real believer of hukam. I feel like, hukam hai andar sabko, bahar hukam na koi. Whenever that thing's going to happen, it's going to happen. They were like, what would have been really good was to have an annulment. 2 days after I got married, when my mother really started kind of going for me, literally before I've even gone to my to my honeymoon, she was like literally making really, really horrible remarks to try and tear us apart. But it was, that's when I should have just said, okay, something's not right here. Right, let's get help. or let's just clarify something here. Let's just, and I think the other thing I should have done is there were multiple times where I said, look, I need to speak to my parents about it. And they kept on like literally to a point where my father-in-law was like begging me, don't call your parents, don't tell them. And I think I should have, instead of saying that I'm going to tell my parents, I should have just called them. And I should have just told them, okay, right, you guys are here, let's go and have a word. Because that's one thing, my parents said, look, don't feel like you're alone in any of this. They would see, because they would see every time they would see me, they would know that my face has changed completely. They knew that I was unhappy. So, my mum used to always say, you have to tell us when we can come and talk, because something's not right. So, ਅਸੀਂ ਤੇਰੀ ਆਵਾਜ਼ ਦੀ ਅਸੀਂ ਵੇਟ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਜਦੋਂ ਤੂੰ ਕਹੂੰਗੀ that you want to come and talk, that you want us to come and sit down, we will come and sit down, because you can't carry on like this forever. It just doesn't make sense. But I think afterwards, I think like I remember this just like one day, when you just realize like what has happened. I just remember like, even though I was very happy that I'd come out of that position and I'd come out of this place where they'd even made threats to take me to India and get me ਤੈਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਵੀ ਸਾਡੇ ਕੋਲ ਲਾਲ ਬੱਤੀਆਂ ਵਾਲੀਆਂ ਗੱਡੀਆਂ ਇੰਡੀਆ ਵਿੱਚ ਕੁਛ ਵੀ ਅਸੀਂ ਹੋ ਸਕਦਾ ਆ ਕਿਤੇ ਵੀ ਤੂੰ ਜਾ ਸਕਦੀ, those kind of things. They would say those kind of remarks. And even then I wasn't like, wake up, alarm bells, move out there, like go. Like even then I was like, so what is it that they mean? Okay, to a point where I feel like I wish the penny had dropped sooner. I wish I'd done something sooner, or I wish I'd just kind of, I guess, created without telling them my intentions and just gone ahead and just done stuff. But I felt like you always give people opportunity to say, look, you're having a very sensible discussion to say things aren't working out. Let's sit down and talk, before you actually kind of just bring people out to their house, right? I think that's the only thing. But to be honest, I think all of it was like lessons for me as well, like I think the other thing is, I feel like sometimes I do feel like I was a little bit of a doormat. I did let them walk all over me. I think potentially, I think going forward, I think one of the things that I would recommend to all girls is make sure that you have a discussion before you get married to say, if things don't work out, would you be willing to move out? And I think that is an important discussion I never ever did. And I wish I'd kind of said that. And I almost felt like, because I'd agreed to live with the parents, I felt like I couldn't then go and have that discussion. So even when I left, I never ever said to him, let's move out. Like it was just off the table. Like I just knew that was not an option for me.
So Mandeep, what's the biggest lesson that you've learned that in getting where you are today?
As in getting out of that situation, or kind of getting to where I am like professionally, or just getting out of that situation?
Sure. So where you feel that you're standing today, I mean, what lesson do you feel you have learned from that situation in being where you are today?
I think don't wait for other people to give you a voice. Make sure you have your own voice. Make sure you know where your boundaries lie, and respect yourself before respecting others. And respect that is, you need to, you can't turn your face or your cheek to any oppression. And I like, there's certain things like within Sikhi, there's Miri and Piri, there's both of those talwar, and they do cross, and it's not only applying that to politics, it's applying that to like overall politics, because this is a type of politics, right? Kind of like domestic violence and abuse of women. That is also something we should be standing firm against. I think I would have just been a little bit more firm. But I always felt like, how do you be firm and not be disrespectful? Like, how do you be firm and allow the other person to maintain their respect and dignity as well at the same time? So it is really, really difficult, I think. But I think I would have definitely would have acted on it quicker.
Yeah.
But yeah,
and
definitely.
Can I ask, like, do you ever
and
get approached? Yeah, sorry. Do you ever get approached by them when you're talking about all this relation and how it broke down on the TV or interviews or something?
Not really. And to be
Yeah.
honest, I personally feel like I'm not 100% ready to. I wasn't 100% ready to talk about it myself either, I think. Because I always felt like it was something that people would always assume that, like that you're in the wrong as well, like, and like people would judge me. I always felt like that, because look, like often you have this kind of situation like both sides are to blame, but I always felt like if I go out there and I put myself out there, people are gonna kind of always kind of blame me, and I kind of held your confidence, and definitely impacts your confidence. But I think the one thing that I needed to remind myself before coming to this kind of interview was that actually even their own family, like even the people that they do talk to, even they reached out to show their support, so I have to keep reminding myself, look, it wasn't you, it was actually them. You can't control the way other people are. Like, you've got to take that control out. You can only take the situation for what it is. You can only do the best that you can, and almost it's a test for you, right? So it's like, you've got a situation, how did you deal with it? And I feel like it's really not a reflection on me as to how this kind of stuff and how it went down. It was really that I was just unlucky. I just ended up in a place where their values and their mindsets were very different.
I think you were right in saying that about hukum and having your own voice. But like, I do hear some people when they say about having a discussion before marriage, the girl and the boy, and they have this discussion about, okay, so what's it going to be like? What's your day like? How's it going to go? And then they have this discussion, and then the boy will tell the girl music to her ears, and then when she gets there, it's totally different. So you can either, we're not gore where we go live there beforehand, and even then they still end up in a divorce. So it's about jithis and jog, jithilikya. So sometimes it's not about, I don't know, the discussion before marriage. I think it's really important to have those because they're better than nothing, rather than just going into a marriage and just adapting and finding the hardship. But beforehand, where you can get that clue or that gut feeling is always important. And I think the more discussions you have, it helps. Not for like years and years, nothing like that, but the more discussions you have in what you want to get out of it. And I think when there is a situation, it's always good to have that "Tariqe naal kehna, pyar naal," and even that can come across as something else. So it's not always easy. It's always going to be difficult, because if you want to put your point across, sometimes it has to be said in a way that they never say it to you again. So no, it is difficult. So go ahead.
Yeah, no, Benji, I was going to say, I actually genuinely really tried that. Like, I think I gave it like everything that I could. Like they had, a room where they had Maharaj Prakash. I kind of one day, I said to, and they say to you when you get married, they give you like, what's it called? I've forgotten the name completely. Saropa Sahib. So they give you Saropa, and they said no, it was the Saropa that they give the couple after the Anand Garage. So it was they gave that, and literally they said to you when you get married, they're like the Gyaniji said, he said, oh, if jadon vi thanu lage bhai, you've got a problem or something like that, take this Saropa and come back to the Gurukar and do an ardas, and you'll find answers. So that Saropa I kept literally right next to my bedside. I would wake up every morning and I would make sure I do my part. And I went with my husband and I said, he did like something really, really silly. He came to my parents' house and he literally started having a fight about something. So his parents basically said they didn't want to come to our house for something. And then when we got there, he ended up having a fight with my parents, saying, why didn't you invite my parents? And my mum was like, yeah, but we did. We called them. We didn't call you guys. We called them. How do you think the conversation went down to say that you weren't invited? So anyway, I took him upstairs and I said, look, let's go and do an ardas and let's have a discussion. But we have to do it with the right kind of mindset. And I said, look, I don't want to fight. We're not allowed to raise our voices in here. We have to talk with Pyar. We have to understand. So the only thing I said to him is, I said, look, you have to understand. So whenever I go and explain this situation to my parents, my mum will the divorce word never came to their mind. My mum would send a shabad, and it would be like, it would be a different shabad that she would send to say, okay, this is what you're feeling. Okay, let me send you a shabad. Like, "Oki kadi na dekhan de apna with Somali." Like it was always a different shabad to like help the situation. I said, but you need to reflect. You need to understand when you have a conversation with your family regarding me. Is it to bring us together, or is it to pull us apart? You just need to keep your eyes and ears open to understand what's actually happening around you. He shot out of there. He said, I'm not talking to you in here. He literally just shot out of there. And it's like, I genuinely didn't know like what more I could do, what more I could say to make him understand. But it works to some extent, but only if other people are willing to make it work, and only if you have a support system that is out there to do the best thing for you as well. And if only the support system is there to help you to get the best outcome for you. I think in those situations it does work. But when you've got like 5 mother-in-laws like I did, who have nothing better to do in their lives apart from tell your husband that you're not good enough for them, I think it is very, very challenging.
No, it sounds really difficult. And I'm so glad that you're part of the Casa Fostering, because that's where I've met you originally from. Oh, I've met you before as well in London, and also the Sikh Games. So I'm really glad that next week we're connecting on some discussions there as well. So if the Sangath wanted to, or the audience wanted to reach out to you, if they had a personal question, where could they reach out to you?
Any questions? Because I personally felt like I had no one, so I don't want any girl to ever feel like they don't have anyone, or there's nobody that's gone through a situation where you can understand. It's just literally, you can reach out to me on LinkedIn or on my personal one. So it's just Mandeep Kaur Moore or Mandeep Moore, whatever characters they allow. So it's Mandeep Kaur Moore on LinkedIn, and I think on Instagram it's Mandeep _Moore.
That's great. Thank you so much. We'd like to thank Mandeep Kaur today for sharing your wonderful story with us all. Thank you so much for your time, and I'll be definitely talking to you soon anyway. Gurindhavan, did you have any last speeches?
No, I think, yeah. I mean, as I said in the beginning, like, these days women are just pushing, down the other women. So I think it's we need to learn lesson that we are talking about empowering the women, and there are so many stories happening. We're talking about women equality, women equity, and we're talking about an unequal world. But at the same time, we are digging holes for us all ourselves. So I think it's very important to to be friendly and empower each other rather than digging all these holes. So thank you so much for sharing the lessons that you have learned and sharing those with us. I hope those will help the others as too. So thank you.
No, definitely. I definitely hope that they have helped others and inspiration, to all other women as well. This is tomorrow is International Women's Day. It's a day that we all get together and lift each other up, inspire each other as much as we can, wherever we can. So thank you all, and we will see you again next week. If you've got any comments or specific topic that you would like covered, please send us an email to hello@thekaurshow.com. And if you would like to see any of our previous shows, then please visit our website, thekaurshow.com. Thank you so much. Goodbye.